Welcome to the Do Good Work podcast, where do good work is a way of living, where we highlight the hidden inner beauty behind the struggle to achieve a new level of excellence in one's own life. Today, we are talking to Robyn Johnson, and by we, I mean I am talking to Robyn Johnson. Robyn has an incredible story. She is the co-founder of Marketplace Blueprint, and she's the CEO and Amazon marketing expert. She runs a digital agency that specializes in marketing products on Amazon. She has over a decade of experience selling online on Amazon, eBay, and other e-commerce ventures. She started with only $100 taking from an emergency fund, but from there she's been able to build a seven-figure business on Amazon and eBay in just a few short years. In these years since, Robyn has not only continued to sell directly on Amazon, so doing what she teaches, but she also has built a consulting and coaching business working with some of the most successful resellers in the space. She now works with companies from startups to companies doing up to $50 million in sales on Amazon annually. And she's on a mission to help companies with amazing products increase their sales and profitability on Amazon and similar marketplaces. In today's podcast, I'd love for you to take a note and understand Robyn's journey. It's a very inspiring, very transformational journey, and also the inspiration that every one of us, any one of us, is capable of doing our own transformation, our own growth, if we seek out to do it and stay consistent, as well as being able to learn a little bit more about what Robyn is seeing at a high level in the e-commerce and Amazon space. Robyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love getting to share, so thank you.
Robyn, everyone who comes on the show has their own story, and I actually want to dive deeper into your story because it's a huge transformation with only $100 from an emergency fund to build over $1 million business online. I know we can't dive into what happened between the inception all the way to the growth and the success of your business, because that's probably a 2-hour podcast. However, I would love to know a little bit more about the perseverance, your determination, your goals, and how you reverse engineered what you wanted to actually take the daily actions.
We started this business. It was about 11 years, a little over 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And I was, like some people are like, oh, I was the best, with the school fundraisers, and I had a lemonade stand. I didn't do any of that. I didn't like those fundraisers. If we sent home the candy bars, I usually got in trouble because I would eat the candy bars, and not sell them. I was not entrepreneurial, and I was working in a church. I was a youth minister, which is about as not capitalistic of a profession as you can have. And I loved what I did, but my son got sick. And there was a moment where they were testing him for Job's disease, like Job from the Bible. And they were like, oh, this test is going to be like $4,000. And, I want to say my first instinct as mom was like, do whatever it takes. But it was really like, how do I keep this kid alive and not lose the house? And every time the car would thump or the air conditioner would make a noise, I would just crawl into bed and pull the blankets over my head. And I felt like we were going to be scared forever. Because it wasn't like you can just go to another place and get a job someplace else. When you work within a denomination, you're kind of stuck. There's only so many places to go. I just felt like there was not a lot of hope. And we were doing the Dave Ramsey thing. I didn't even have the money to do financial peace. My friend had to pay for me because I didn't even have the $100 at that time. But we had been doing that for a couple of weeks. And in one session, he talks about this lady that was selling strollers that she got at garage sales on Craigslist. And I was like, I could do that. And so I took the 520s out of the bank, and I remember them being like $1 million at the time. And, I had less than a 6-month-old, and I had a toddler, and we would go to garage sales, while I was working before. And my son's first sight word was garage because he would help me find the signs. And, we went from selling from Craigslist to eBay to Amazon. And, within about 3 years, we'd hit the $1 million mark. And we've been able to continue to have so much success, and our business has changed so many times. And it's been such an incredible journey.
That is phenomenal. And thank you so much for sharing that. I do want to unpack a couple of things. As one, thank you for not being a lemonade stand entrepreneur. I sometimes oh, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 3. I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't until I was, I don't know, later in life. So I love that one that you shared, that you don't have to start early, you just have to start. And what an incredible journey to have those type of situations happen in your life. And thankfully your son being well and healthy now to go past that. And just, I never shared this before, actually. Maybe I have, maybe on private one to one, but one of my entrepreneurial things back in the day was to sell on eBay, just flip laptops to help my brother buy his Mac that was super expensive back in the day. So it's pretty cool to have that trajectory. There's one thing that you've talked about is something that you emphasize is consistency, and also in consistently creating miracles. Can you talk to me a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I've had people be like, "Wow, you're just so lucky. You've had all these wonderful things happen." And I think any entrepreneur who's been there, you get like a little flush and a little dizzy because you're like, "Oh, it wasn't luck, honey." I mean, like this was hard work, like the hardest thing I've ever done. I know there's a lot of like those lemonade entrepreneurs, like God bless them. I love them. They bring so much to the world. And I don't have the risk tolerance that most of them have. So I need very clear pathways. I need to have redundancy. I need to see where I'm going. And so, in order to be able to consistently create miracles, I'm always looking at where do I want to be in 1 to 2 years and then working backwards. And in that working backwards, I say, okay, so what do I need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month? And I start with the end in mind and I work this way. And then it helps me to see new pathways that I don't think that I would see. And it takes out the what if I'll make it, because I'm starting at the end with I'm assuming that I'm going to hit that goal. And then I work back to what actions I would have had to take in order to make that success predictable and not like, I hope it works out, but really like I'm going to be in control and I'm going to be kind of the word in the matter that has these things occur.
Yeah, even some of my best mentors would say that we create our own luck. And I personally don't believe in luck. I feel like everything's in it happens for a reason. So therefore not really an accident. But I think that we are determinant of what we want to do with any talents or special gifts. Or even if you think I have no gift, well, you can take action. And that over time creates into something that you can hone in on. So I love the fact that you focus on the long term. And when you look at the long term too, do you look at like the different areas of life? Or do you have very specific, do you focus first on business? Because I know, I mean, right now it's the beginning of the year and probably a lot of people are dropping off their New Year's resolutions. Typically it takes 28 days or 21 days for people to, is that day that people stop with their New Year resolution. What process do you go through? Is it just plain and simple? You keep going, but when you keep going, how do you ensure that you maintain consistent? Because that's the trick, consistency over a period of time.
So I personally have a coach that I have through Landmark worldwide, and people either love Landmark or hate it. It works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's totally okay.
Fair.
But so I have somebody that I talk to on a weekly basis, and so I have a fitness goal, which I know obviously I still need a little bit more work on. But
We're
then
all
I
working on
also
it.
have yeah, I even have goals around like things we want to do for our family and personal goals, and then I have business goals.
Mhm.
And because it's really for a long time I was just focused on the business, and it's really easy to burn out, and it's easy to not take care of your relationships outside of your business, not just even just your family, but just like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I should make some friends, and so, because I've been so busy on my business that I haven't done that. So, I really do make those goals. And then each week we look at where am I, have I hit, so I have measures for each week
Mhm.
for each of those goals. And we review where did we hit the measures? Where do I need to move measures for next week? What are the measures that I'm working towards?
Mhm.
And this way it makes it so I can and then when I'm looking at those measures, I look at what if my life depended on getting this result, what actions would I take? So, people will say like, oh, I want to get on a podcast. Well, if your life depended on getting on a podcast, then you would be emailing, you could say, well, I'm going to email 20 podcast hosts a day until I get some feedback or I get on a show, or I'm going to do something, so what actions do I need to take in order to make
Mhm.
it predictable that and kind of like that Grant Cardone 10x kind of thing. I don't, that looking doing 10 scheduling out 10 times the work that it would take to hit that goal, and then to make sure that you are really hitting it, and then you can always pull back as you start to get some momentum.
Makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned earlier that you assume that you're going to hit the goal. So you're already going with the mind that you're going to reach it, correct?
Yes. Because if you start to say, well, can I do this? You'll never commit to anything because, and so one thing I really have had to get over in developing this is I didn't want to make a promise I couldn't keep. And so I was keeping my goals really small for a while because I didn't want to commit to something and give my word to something and then not fulfill on it. And so it's taken me some time to say, I'm setting these goals with every intention of doing whatever it takes to make them happen. And if they no longer suit me, or they're no longer in alignment with what I want for my life, I can say I don't want to do this anymore, or I need to adjust the timeline, or I need to adjust the measures to make it work for my entire life, so I don't get consumed with one area.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's being self-aware, but then also you have a coach or a mentor to be able to give you that third person perspective, or that perspective from the outside, because it's hard to see. What's the saying? It's hard to see the mountain when you're standing on it, right?
It is. And it's easy to kind of get caught up in more, better, different. Like, oh, I need more money. So I'm just going to get more sales. I'm just going to get more sales. And it's like, well, that's not really the problem. We need to look more at like sometimes it's good to have an objective listener or a committed listener. It doesn't have to be a coach. I also have an accountability partner that I meet with on a weekly basis.
Mm.
So, I think that when I look at how do I make it happen, it really is about setting up a listening for myself in that, I have this coach that's listening to me. I have this accountability partner that I have deliverables that are expected from me. And then I've really worked on developing friends that have similar priorities and life goals. And so there's support for when I say I need to do these things. If you only have non-entrepreneurial friends, our lives are crazy and it doesn't seem like normal. And so you need to have entrepreneurial friends that understand you're pushing for a while and then can also tell you, like, okay, been pushing for like 6 months. I think you need a vacation. And so it's important to kind of create that listening for your life.
100% the feedback and being able to relax and deflate and then come back in with the pressure. There is, and we'll dive a little bit more into the e-com side in a bit, but I just really wanted to hone in on this just to make sure that I fully captured it. You've also talked about why some aren't able to consistently create the quote unquote impossible over and over again. Like, what does it actually take to create what others, or maybe what you deem to be impossible, and what makes someone successful in that path versus someone who isn't successful in that path?
So I think that it's easy to get caught up in self doubt. It's easy to get caught up in what everybody else is doing. And I think that I've coached a lot of entrepreneurs over the years. And a lot of, that one of the big things is shiny object syndrome, where they'll kind of go from one thing to another. And, it's you got to think about your business, kind of like you're like Fred Flintstone in the little car, the like yabba gabba do. He's got to run for a little bit before it starts moving. And, so you have to be focused. You have to know that your business is going to be like it's like making popcorn. It's in the microwave. You can, the energy is going in there, but you're not seeing anything happen for a long time. And so it's that persistence to be willing to see things through and, and stay focused on one thing. That I think is really, really important. And then it's being really clear why you want this and keeping that really focused. I know people kind of talk about like, what's your why in business? And it kind of becomes woo woo. But really, like, what would it mean for you? Like for me, what really drove me is I never ever want to be in a place where I can't give my kid the medical care he needs because I can't afford it. And so the days that I was tired, the days that I didn't want to do it, the days that I was just annoyed at the world, I could dig back into that and say, you know what, I'm doing this because, you know, it's not just something I like to have. It's just I'm really clear on the impact. Money doesn't buy happiness by any means, but it does make it so that you have access to protect some of the people that you love. That security is important.
No, you're 100% right. And I don't think it's woo in any way. And not just the personal why, but even the company why. Like that, I'll probably have a whole segment on the reason why you need to have a purpose in your actual business, and then why that actually matters to your team, to your customers, to yourself, and the future of the business if you ever want to sell that asset, or, sell the book of business. But that's a whole different, just to reaffirm what you mentioned, it's completely important to understand the real reason behind the work that we do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is to highlight those real reasons, to highlight the drive, to highlight the behind the scenes that no one actually sees or talks about. They see the front end, but they don't actually know the back. And I want more conversations to see what's actually happening in the back.
So because I'm not a lemonade stand person, I really didn't like the idea of sales. And so I was talking to my mentor about this, and she said, do you do good work? Does what you do do you actually do what you say you do? Does it make a difference for your clients? And I was like, no, it definitely, this made a huge difference. And she really pointed out that if I don't get out there and offer my services, they're going to go with somebody else that is not going to care as much, is not going to, have the diligence that I have. So if you know that you're somebody that can produce results, you're actually doing the people you would potentially disserve a disservice by not putting yourself out there.
1000%. For me, selling is service. And I think that's something that, and I like that you brought that up too, because that is a cognitive dissonance of those who see sales. I mean, there are personalities that see sales as something that's bad or sales that is being used. People don't want to be used. No one, you shouldn't ever use someone. But I think it's the fact of ensuring that if you have something that's valuable, to getting it out there as much as you can, creating awareness and serving those that you can. And I think that's the essence. And I think Aristotle talked about that business is all about serving a community and for an actual purpose and an outcome. It's not the end outcome in itself. Diving into a little bit just to get your thoughts on the e-commerce side, and where we're at, some trends that you're seeing, maybe high level macroeconomics. I'm just really curious because with the very low barrier to entry right now, what are some of the trends you're seeing with saturation, differentiation, and also the future of where we're heading with Amazon, eBay, e-commerce type businesses?
Well, we're kind of coming out of the first phase of that wild, wild west. When I first started on Amazon, you could put anything on there, and it was crazy. We were just going to retail stores and putting things on Amazon, and I still have people that are buying things in retail stores that are making that are generating millions of dollars in sales that way. But as the marketplaces are starting to mature, then what it's really requiring is more grown up marketing, more strategic thought. And so a lot of, like, for a while you could just kind of get rich quick on the me too kind of products, like I have a better garlic press, or I just have a garlic press. We're starting to see that evolve into, you really do need to kind of go back to the fundamentals of product creation and marketing, where you have a product that fills a need, or you know fixes a problem that somebody's having. And so, we did see that in 2020, we saw a huge spike in Amazon, and things have started to normalize now, which means if you were in e-commerce and you saw some fairly flat growth last year, that's a lot to do with consumer behavior changes. You have to remember that 2020 was completely an anomaly, but there's still a lot of opportunity for growth, and there's still a lot of places for people to play. Online e-commerce is continuing to grow, and that 2020 did help user adoption quite a bit on all of the platforms, and it really created new behavioral patterns where people are more likely to go online than they were before.
That's 100% true. And I think it's kind of interesting to know that even just being a reseller is a really viable opportunity. Are you focused primarily on the reseller market, or are you also focusing on private label, taking a product that might be doing well and then going direct to manufacturer, creating something custom?
We were resellers for a long time, and I loved doing it. It was great. I loved kind of like helping kind of connect the buyer to these great products. But as we started to, buy more items wholesale and working with brands, we saw what a big problem Amazon was. And so we created an agency. So now what we do is we work specifically with brands to help them with their Amazon listing, to deal with their advertising. And Amazon's kind of this weird backwards, like upside down. It's kind of like Disney's Alice in Wonderland, where digital marketing, so you're like, it looks like a butterfly, but it's actually a bread and butterfly. Everything's just a little bit tweaky, and so we kind of help translate and help people navigate that, because it can be a pretty frustrating place to sell, but it can also be a really amazing place. We have one publicly traded company that we've been working with for the last couple of years, and because of the top line revenue growth we were able to provide, they got a $40 million investment, that they were able to utilize. So it can make a big difference even for established companies, and for small companies. it's great because you can't get that TV and that placement the way that a big brand can. But on Amazon, you can get that market shelf that is very difficult to get in retail and on TV.
Definitely, like if you're looking at costs, it's for product placements in actual retail, there is a cost to put that product right at eyesight. And pretty sure Amazon will be substantially less of a cost. Well, it can be diverse, less of a cost to do that. So going from reselling, going to coaching, consulting, now going to service-based agency, what's your trajectory? What's your goals in the next 5, 10 years with this business and in the space?
Well, because Amazon is so frustrating, I feel like I've got a lot of job security. So we really love the agency piece. I loved selling on Amazon, but I hated the packing and the shipping and the managing the warehouse and tell people, okay, your toilet break is over. You've been in there for 40 minutes. Like I just, they were uncomfortable conversations I didn't really want to have anymore. So the agency is kind of the best part. We have partners that we work with that can help provide 3PL services for our clients. But we love getting to do what we do. And Amazon has been expanding their advertising, expanding what they're offering for brands. And so right now we do see the blue ocean for us right now, because of our level of expertise, is really kind of focusing on Amazon. We also do some other marketplaces where, because eBay was the thing. It was the thing, and that was it. And there was nobody that was going to touch it until somebody did. And so, we're always watching, Walmart, Target, Bed Bath and Beyond, all the different places that are starting to bring in marketplaces. And of course, we still love eBay. There's still some great opportunities for the right brands on eBay. So we are always watching the existing marketplaces and new potential marketplaces with our clients as well.
Are you focusing on specific verticals or just horizontal on e-commerce on the Amazon platform?
We actually do that's the weird part about Amazon. Even as a reseller, there was a time where we were selling like baby toys and lawn flamingos and groceries. And you can sell all that in one store on Amazon. So we kind of stick with, there's with those consumer goods, we've got a lot of baby and toy, and some home and garden. But we're pretty horizontal on Amazon because Amazon is such a niche. But people are always asking us, do we do Facebook ads? Do we do Google ads? Do we do SEO? We don't do any of that. We just do Amazon. We eat, breathe, sleep Amazon, and that's all we do. It allows us to really focus our expertise and make sure we're not offering a diluted service.
100%. I agree with that, and I like that positioning. What excites you most about being able to run this kind of business with the current lifestyle that you have?
I think the biggest thing for me is, like that same mentor that told me about the sales, one of the questions she always asked people is, if time and money wasn't a consideration, what would you be doing with your life? Like if you didn't have to earn money, if you didn't have to worry about getting enough time to spend with your kids. And I really would want to spend that time working with entrepreneurs to help them have the lifestyle that I have. So I love getting to help small brands, you know, hire more and to be able to expand and to be able to grow revenue and get investments. And working with our bigger brands, we know that top line revenue means more people will have steady and secure jobs. So I love getting to contribute that way. But last year, even with COVID, I went to the Bahamas, San Francisco, I went to Disney World, I swam with manatees, and I went to Yellowstone for 2 weeks. So we went to Bryce Canyon, we went to the Grand Canyon, and my kids were able to do things. In one year, my kids had the experiences that most kids don't have in a lifetime. And I don't say that to brag. I'm just profoundly grateful for the life that I have and the memories that I've been able to make with my kids. I've been able to, pick my kids up from school and, be there for them when my son he's in middle school and he got in his first big fight with his friends. And, and so I was there for him, when he was like, the world is ending. And I was like, I know it feels like the world is ending. But if he had been riding the bus home and, or going to daycare or something, I might have missed that moment. And those are really important to me. There was one year I went to Disneyland 57 times in one year, and I don't live in
Oh my gosh.
California. So,
I haven't even gone to Disneyland. I don't even know 7 times. It is up the street. No, I
I
love
love
that.
Disney. Yeah. I'm very grateful. I have a husband that he's a partner with me in my business. We work with each other all day, every day. And I couldn't imagine a better partner. I've got great kids. I've got great friends. There have been moments where I was like, why am I doing this? This is the worst decision I've ever made. But for the most part, my life is something that I'm really grateful for. And so, yeah.
And it's always through the struggle to be able to get here and being able to be grateful for the opportunities that we have. And that's why we do what we do. But I think, Robyn, for all of our listeners here, to one, thank you for being on the show, and two, learn more about you and get to learn a little bit more about your business and any insights that you have. What's the best place for them to go to?
So if you go to marketplaceblueprint.com, you click on the big button that you can, if you are looking to sell on Amazon, I have like a 20-page guide on how to do listing optimization. I'll do a free like mini audit of one of your listings. I'm also on Twitter at AMZ Robyn Johnson with a Robyn with a Y. So like, why does she talk so fast? I'm also on LinkedIn. If you're welcome. If you just search Robyn Johnson Amazon, you can find me on LinkedIn.
I have those links in the show notes, Robyn. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for being with us here today. It's an honor to be a small part of your journey. And if you gained any insights from today's episode with Robyn, please head over to Apple Podcast and drop a comment or a review on Apple Podcasts with the insight that stuck out to you the most. While you're there, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have any topic suggestions or questions you'd like me to go deeper on the podcast, or specific guests that you'd like for me to reach out to, please drop me a line at podcast@dogoodwork.io. That's podcast@dogoodwork.io. I review all of these personally myself, so know that we take all of your insights into consideration. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.